Our story opens on a ruined city, crackling with a sinister purple energy. From the smoke, a grotesque monster with glowing red eyes lunges towards its prey. But a lone warrior, Lee Gi-yoon, soars through the air, meeting it with a blade of pure light. He stands defiant against a colossal beast, his power tearing it apart piece by piece. In the aftermath, Gi-yoon slumps in exhaustion, the weight of the battle settling upon him. A wild, almost unhinged grin spreads across his face as he whispers, "That makes 32 now!" It's been years since the great cataclysm unleashed these monsters upon our world. Regular soldiers are completely outmatched, their cries for backup swallowed by the chaos. The creatures are relentless, their terrifying screeches echoing through the desolate streets. In a blur of motion, Gi-yoon arrives, becoming the one-man army they were praying for. Blood splatters across Gi-yoon's face, his glowing eyes fixed on his next kill. The third one. He stands over the creature's metallic husk, his biomechanical arms still smoking from the final blow. But a flicker of unease crosses Gi-yoon's face as a dreadful feeling begins to settle in. A colossal shadow falls over the city, revealing a monster far beyond any intel he received. He furiously contacts his handler, his voice tight with rage. "You told me 33 in total!" An arrogant, disembodied voice crackles back, demanding Gi-yoon address him as master. The man on the line, a smug figure in a gaudy fur coat, dismisses the lethal error with a smirk. A soldier's desperate scream cuts through the tension, warning Gi-yoon of a threat he'd overlooked. Gi-yoon spins around just as a multi-eyed horror lunges from the shadows, its attack swift and silent. But it's too late. The soldier who shouted the warning is struck down in a brutal, horrifying instant. Gi-yoon lies broken amidst the rubble, his body paralyzed as his life fades away. Through a haze of blood and pain, his final regret surfaces, a life never truly lived. As his consciousness shatters, Gi-yoon's last wish echoes into the void, to finally know freedom. But death is not what he finds, instead a bizarre vision of strange floating creatures. He looks down at his own hand, small and chubby, a sight that defies all logic. The horrifying truth dawns on him. Lee Gi-yoon, the hardened warrior, has been reborn as a baby. His old instincts kick in as footsteps approach the crib, his tiny body tensing for a fight. A shadow looms over him, and Gi-yoon's mind races with fear of his former organization. But a gentle, red-haired woman smiles down, her warm voice calling him her sweetheart. Gi-yoon's battle-hardened mind short-circuits, unable to process this impossible new reality. From his crib, Gi-yoon scans the peaceful room, his warrior's mind struggling to comprehend this new life. His new mother hums a cheerful tune, her smile never faltering as she turns on the TV. Peering outside, Gi-yoon sees a world without monsters, hearing only the calm murmur of daily life. The truth crashes down. He's in a timeline without the cataclysm, and without the organization that controlled him. A slow, hopeful grin spreads across his face as the full implication of his new reality dawns. In his mind, he's a champion, screaming in triumph as his lifelong wish is finally granted. He is free. He vows to remember this date, October 31st, 2020, as the first day of his true life. His joy evaporates into pure horror. The year 2020 means the great cataclysm hasn't happened yet. Crushing despair sets in. He knows the future, but is trapped in a helpless infant's body. But his despair is replaced by fierce resolve. He is the great Lord K, and he refuses to accept this fate. He tries to force his body to stand, but the mighty warrior can only wobble and fall. Frustration mounts as he realizes he can't even speak, his warnings trapped behind a baby's gurgle. Panic sets in as the clock ticks towards doom, and he can't do a single thing. He watches the red-haired woman, calculating if he can use his new mother to his advantage. A sinister grin spreads across his face. He'll manipulate this woman, searching for any useful skill. He hopes for agility, but his new mother proves to be hopelessly clumsy, shrieking in surprise. His next hope is for skillful hands, but her attempt at art is an absolute catastrophe. As a last resort, he hopes she can cook, only to watch in horror as she sets the kitchen ablaze. His mother, hair fried from the fire, cheerfully offers him a bottle, confirming Gi-yoon's worst fears. His grand resolve shatters and Gi-yoon lies defeated, the future looking more hopeless than ever. Just as Gi-yoon's hope fades, the doorbell rings, and his mother excitedly announces a package has arrived. She fumbles with the doorknob, her scatterbrained nature on full display as she remembers to get money. From his crib, Gi-yoon's strategic mind whirs. A package delivery is a detail he doesn't remember. A chilling realization dawns. A delivery person would be a perfect vector for spreading an infection. Cold sweat drips down his face as he imagines the cataclysm beginning with a single infected person. A sickening cough from behind the door confirms his fears, and Giyun's silent scream is trapped inside him. The door opens to a figure shrouded in a sinister red aura, handing over the cursed package. The delivery man is revealed to be a horrifying monster, its jaw unhinged as it shrieks in agony. To his horror, his mother's red hair morphs into grotesque tentacles, ensnaring the room in an instant. Tears of pure rage stream down Giyun's face, his soul screaming at this cruel, twisted fate. But his despair gives way to instinct. Giyun frantically searches for any makeshift weapon. His eyes land on the baby bottle, his only option, and he shoves it with all his might. But the monster mother is faster, a crimson tentacle lashing out directly toward his crib. The powerful blow shatters the wooden frame, sending Giyun flying amidst the splinters. He lands hard on a pillow, dazed but still clutching the bottle like a lifeline. The mother monster ignores him, brutally tearing apart the delivery man with her tendrils. Giyun knows with chilling certainty that a single touch from those tendrils means instant death. He recalls his past life, where his combat experience made him a god among men. His old battle instincts kick in, identifying his mother as a terrifying power-type monster. Its brute strength is a threat, but Giyun realizes the true danger lies in its whip-like tentacles. With a calculated risk, Giyun lets the bottle roll, using it as the perfect bait. Its brute strength becomes a weakness as it crashes through the glass, unable to make the turn. The monster's tentacle is caught in the wreckage, just as Giyun's tactical mind had predicted. A bead of sweat drips down his face, but a smug grin reveals the ruthless warrior within. He feels a familiar power surge, grateful for the hellish battles that forged his instincts. To Giyun's shock, a massive biomechanical tail erupts from his back, crackling with blue energy. The tail strikes with a will of its own, impaling the monster mother in one lethal blow. Giyun watches in stunned silence as his tail begins to glow, seemingly eating the monster's remains. It then shrinks into his hand, a weapon that feels both foreign and like a part of his soul. The truth crashes down on him. This is his unique ability from his past life, the tale of Taudi. Giyun's mind races, questioning why his past life's skill exists before the cataclysm even began. With his understanding of the world shattered, Giyun's frustration boils over. Nothing makes sense anymore. But his confusion gives way to a chilling realization. This is a stroke of incredible luck. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he decides to test the horrifying power he just stole. He unleashes the stolen power, a massive spike that effortlessly obliterates a nearby wooden cabinet. He recalls his past life. Awakening at age 7 made him an S rank, one of the strongest humans alive. A supremely confident grin spreads across his face. Awakening this early makes him a legendary SSS rank. He envisions his perfect future, a throne of absolute power, with wealth and adoration at his feet. With his future secured, Giyun coolly decides he's done with this place and begins to crawl away. But his grand escape is immediately cut short, his confident expression replaced by pure shock. The mighty warrior lies paralyzed, his mind screaming in disbelief as his body refuses to move. A sickening crack echoes as the crib leg splinters, a consequence of his own reckless power. The entire wooden frame tilts, threatening to crush the SSS rank warrior in the most humiliating way. But his mother lunges forward with a terrified cry, her only thought to save her precious Achan. The moment of helplessness triggers a dark memory of his former master's cruel, mocking voice. He remembers being a starving boy, forced to eat from a dog bowl, branded a pet of the organization. The old humiliation burns through him, his soul screaming in defiance against his past and present weakness. Giyun groans as he wakes up, the mental exhaustion from the memory weighing heavily on him. He finds himself safe in bed, watching the woman he thought was a monster who somehow saved him. Giyun realizes his power is too much for his infant body, giving him a strict 30-second combat limit. Giyun clenches his tiny fist, his face a mask of fury. He vows to overcome this weakness. A soft whimper draws his attention to his mother, who is crying softly as she writes. His eyes fall on her diary, where she calls him her treasure, a word that stuns Giyun. He then notices the dark, painful bruise blooming across her shoulder. Giyun realizes she was hurt protecting him, a stark contrast to the mother who sold him out. An unfamiliar instinct takes over, and Giyun's small hand reaches out towards her. She pulls him into a warm embrace, and Giyun decides he will stay, just for a little while. But the peaceful city outside is a grim reminder that the world has less than a week. His strategic mind scans the skyline, calculating where the first monster outbreak will surely begin. On a nearby skyscraper, a window washer's eyes glow blue as he begins to transform, just as Gyun feared. The window washer's body dissolves into a grotesque blue slime, the first monster of the cataclysm. Gyun tries to formulate a plan, but his mother's cheerful voice shatters his concentration. Oblivious to the danger, she excitedly unveils a surprise, leaving Gyun utterly bewildered. She proudly presents a caged Shiba Inu, a gift from a neighbor, calling it a new playmate. The SSS rank warrior can only stare in stunned silence at the sheer absurdity of it all. But a flash of recognition hits him. This is a Reckon, a notoriously fierce dog breed. The dog seems friendly, but Gyun despairs at his mother's foolishness in getting a baby a huge pet. Then, a dark strategic idea forms, and a wicked grin spreads across Gyun's face. He imagines training the Reckon as a weapon, a mount, and a scout for the coming battles. His mother mistakes his ruthless scheming for pure joy, thrilled that her Achan is so happy. As his mother prepares food, Gyun begins his first step, establishing dominance over the Reckon. With a cold, calculated grin, he decides that providing food will make him the dog's master. But the dog just stares back with a dopey grin, seemingly too clueless to understand his intent. The Reckon licks his foot and Gyun smirks, ready to forge his new loyal weapon. But the dog's eyes flash red as it unleashes a shockingly powerful bark, shattering his expectations. Gyun is sent flying, left stunned on the floor with paw prints marking his humiliating defeat. The Reckon shakes its head with smug satisfaction, asserting itself as the true alpha in the room. Pure fury erupts from Gyun, his eyes glowing as his silent scream of rage shakes the room. As they tumble in a chaotic brawl, his mother smiles, thinking her Achan has made a new friend. The battle ends, and his mother, completely unaware, realizes she's out of flour for her next task. The battle for dominance ends in Gyun's utter humiliation, trapped in the Reckon's mouth. As his mother searches for flour, the blue slime monster from the skyscraper silently seeps into the room. Completely oblivious, she rummages through a low cabinet, the grotesque creature looming right behind her. But the Reckon suddenly springs into action, its fierce bark echoing as it charges to protect its new family. In a flash, the dog pulls the mother back by her clothes, saving her just as the slime monster attacks. She lands in a heap, completely bewildered, as the brave Reckon stands guard against the bizarre threat. Gyun's mind analyzes the foe. Its liquid body makes it immune to normal physical attacks. His mother, still dazed, complains about bumping into something, completely unaware of the danger she was in. The Reckon's powerful paw strikes the creature, but the blow is simply absorbed by the gelatinous form. The slime monster retaliates, engulfing the dog as Gyun realizes its weakness is dryness, but he's powerless to help. Helpless, Gyun frantically scans the room, his eyes locking onto a bottle of powder nearby. With a surge of desperate strength, he grabs the bottle and hurls it towards the monster. The bottle tumbles through the air, releasing a massive cloud of dehydrating powder. The powder engulfs the slime, causing it to violently crystallize and release the trapped Reckon. The monster shatters into 1,000 harmless shards, its form completely obliterated by Gyun's quick thinking. Just as he predicted, the rapid moisture loss left the monster vulnerable, now just a harmless puddle. Taking no chances, Gyun crawls over and traps the weakened remnant under a nearby trash can. He sits atop his makeshift prison, a triumphant smirk on his face, the first monster of the cataclysm defeated. Gyun glances at the exhausted Reckon, his pride swelling. Of course, the great Me handled it perfectly. His mother finally finds her flour, turning around with a shriek at the unbelievable mess in her kitchen. A man enters the kitchen, sighing as he sees his wife and the Reckon covered in powder. While his mother laments her luck, Gyun sits on the trash can, already calculating the monster's value. His mind flashes with knowledge from his past life. This slime's remains are incredibly useful resources. But as he schemes, the weakened slime under the trash can suddenly makes a desperate bid for freedom. Gyun is knocked aside, his infant body powerless as he watches his valuable prize escape. In a flash of brown fur, the Reckon intercepts the creature, proving itself a worthy ally. The brave dog and the cunning slime monster lock eyes in a tense, silent standoff. Gyun scrambles back onto the trash can, and together he and the Reckon corner their foe. But the slime gives a mocking thumbs up before slipping effortlessly through the open window. Gyun seethes with frustration as the monster escapes, free to roam the unsuspecting city. Gyun glares at the growling Reckon, his pride wounded by the insolent dog's defiance. But with his prize on the line, Gyun forms an alliance, riding the Reckon out the door. His mind screams with grim determination. He will not let that valuable resource escape his grasp. As they race down the stairs, Gyun wonders how the creature is moving so fast. The unlikely duo tears through the quiet neighborhood, a blur of fur and fury. He spots the slime monster up ahead, already calculating the fastest way to neutralize it. But the monster drips down towards an unsuspecting girl, her eyes wide with confusion. Before she can react, the grotesque slime engulfs her terrified scream muffled by its form. Gyun grits his teeth, knowing his body can't handle using his power again so soon. But if that monster takes a host, he knows it will unleash a massacre on the city. A memory of a past battle flashes through Gyun's mind, a stark contrast to his current helplessness. He smirks, remembering how his past self would have effortlessly crushed this pathetic creature. The Reckon leaps over the terrified girl, Gyun using the small umbrella to block the slime's attack. Knowing he has only seconds, Gyun channels his power through the umbrella in a concentrated blast. The beam of pure energy slams directly into the fleeing slime monster, halting its escape. Vowing to end this instantly, Gyun unleashes his stolen power, the red tendrils erupting to ensnare the foe. As the monster's crystallized remains rain down, Gyun anxiously wonders if he made it in time. The girl sits on the ground, unharmed but staring in shock, and Gyun worries if she saw his power. Before he can do anything, the terrified girl scrambles to her feet and runs away from the scene. Resigned, Gyun dismisses the fleeing girl, his focus shifting to the hassle of cleaning up the remains. As his tail absorbs the slime's essence, Gyun stares in shock at the impossible sight. He realizes his tail of Tauri can now hold 2 abilities, a feat impossible in his past life. With a surge of concentration, Gyun summons the slime's power, confirming the 2 abilities coexist. He recalls his past life, where hiding his full potential from the organization ultimately led to his death. A sudden, stunning realization hits him. The key difference is his current age. He remembers the organization's cruel experiments. The younger the child, the greater their potential power. But the monster toxins were too potent, and any child younger than 10 perished in the process. But now, as an infant, he has adapted at an age previously thought to be a death sentence. A wicked grin spreads across his face. His potential for growth is now truly limitless. Lost in his thoughts of ultimate power, he's startled to find he and the Reckon are already home. The short trip back leaves Gyun utterly drained, his tiny body struggling under the Reckon's shadow. He collapses, the distance to the door feeling like miles. His infant body has reached its absolute limit. A grim reality sets in. Without basic physical strength, his incredible new abilities are almost useless. He lies defeated, hoping the Reckon can act as a guard, but a new shadow falls over him. The dog's eyes glow with a menacing red light, its gaze fixed intently on the helpless Gyun. It grabs him by his clothes, and Gyun's mind screams in terror, fearing he's become its next meal. Meanwhile, his mother emerges from a shower, completely refreshed and unaware of the drama unfolding. She glances over at the scene, her face breaking into a warm, knowing smile. Instead of eating him, the Reckon pins him down, covering his face in slobbery, affectionate licks. Its duty done, the dog falls into a deep, drooling sleep, leaving Gyun utterly defeated by affection. Wasting no time, Gyun uses his new slime ability to seal every possible entry point into the house. He sits back, satisfied that his makeshift fortress will keep his new family safe, at least for a while. Analyzing his tail of Tauri, he learns it can now store a staggering 4 different abilities. But his frustration returns. The 30-second time limit on his powers remains a critical, life-threatening weakness. With the house secured, Gyun's mind races, planning the next crucial step to survive the apocalypse. A stark realization hits him with the force of a physical blow. He needs supplies. He remembers the grim truth. Starvation, not monsters, was the true killer during the Great Cataclysm. In his mind, supplies are power, a way to control others and build a new empire from the ashes. But a newspaper headline about a new virus confirms his fears. The clock is ticking faster than he thought. He knows that supermarkets will become death traps the moment the cataclysm begins, swarming with the newly infected. Gyun sweats, realizing his infant body can't possibly handle the coming horde of monsters. Desperate for a new plan, his eyes lock onto his mother's phone, a beacon of modern communication. A brilliant modern idea strikes him. He can use the smartphone to manipulate the world from his crib. He crawls to the phone, a smirk on his face as he discovers his clumsy mother didn't even set a password. Scrolling through a landlord's group, he scoffs at their naive dismissal of the monster virus. With a sinister grin, Gi-yoon decides to teach these fools a lesson, his tiny fingers fumbling to type. He sends a prophetic warning of the cataclysm, only to be mocked and dismissed as a delusional child. His grand plan shattered by their ignorance, Gi-yoon trembles with pure, unadulterated rage. Dejected, he laments their fate, but a sudden friend request notification catches his eye. With no other options, Gi-yoon's tiny finger taps accept, wondering who this mysterious person could be. The message appears, offering a deal for supplies, and Gi-yoon's mind freezes at the familiar name. Hot. A cold dread washes over him. He knows this woman, Hot, the infamous information broker from the organization. Miles away, in a secret lair glowing with the blue light of countless monitors, Hot is at work. She leans back in her chair with a smug laugh, thoroughly entertained by Gi-yoon's apocalyptic prophecy. Her green eyes sparkle with predatory interest, a sly smile playing on her lips. This is getting interesting. Reading Gi-yoon's cautious reply, she licks a popsicle, finding his guarded nature delightfully troublesome. With a confident grin, Hot lays out her proposal, promising him access to all the supplies he could ever want. Gi-yoon's tiny finger taps send, demanding to know the catch to this too-good-to-be-true offer. She shows him images of a massive warehouse, stocked with everything from food and water to armor. Hot's smile turns sharp as she names her price, 100 million yen, not for the goods, but for information. Hot sweetens the deal, revealing a stash of cash hidden inside an air conditioner. Instead of money, she reveals her true price, 20% of the supplies he acquires with her information. Gi-yoon scoffs. The childish tone and absurd demand confirm he's dealing with the infamous Hot. Their negotiation is a tense game of cat and mouse, with Hot mockingly daring him to refuse. To Gi-yoon's shock, Hot reveals she's already left the intel in his own apartment building's mailbox. He realizes that in this timeline, Hot isn't an organization executive yet, just a dangerous freelancer. But he knows her true nature, a master manipulator who toys with people's lives for her own amusement. A ruthless grin spreads across Gi-yoon's face. He'll play her game and turn her trap against her. After the mental battle, his infant body forces him into a 2-hour nap to recover his energy. His stamina restored, Gi-yoon sits up with grim resolve, ready to retrieve Hot's dangerous information. Gi-yoon decides to take the stairs, his strategic mind wary of the elevator's security cameras. But his fierce determination is crushed by reality. His infant body can't even climb a single step. His eyes fall on the sleeping Reckon, and a new desperate plan begins to form. With a grunt of effort, Gi-yoon tugs on the dog's tail, trying to wake his unwilling ally. The Reckon cracks open an eye, its annoyed glare making Gi-yoon's blood run cold. A single flick of its tail sends Gi-yoon flying, a humiliating reminder of who's really in charge. Flushed with embarrassment, Gi-yoon changes tactics, his eyes locking onto a can of dog treats. But the proud Reckon has already fallen back asleep, completely ignoring Gi-yoon's new scheme. Desperate, Gi-yoon mashes the treat into a paste, preparing his final, undignified offer. The simple bribe works instantly, and Gi-yoon scoffs, realizing his ally is just a simple-minded dog after all. With his mother still asleep, Gi-yoon urges the Reckon forward, their stealthy mission now underway. They reach the apartment lobby, and Gi-yoon's eyes scan intently for their target, the mailbox. He spots the mailbox, but his relief is cut short by the glowing red eye of a security camera. A cold realization hits Gi-yoon. This is Hot's test, a trap designed to confirm his identity. He knows if Hot identifies him, his information will be sold, but she never acts without absolute certainty. A wicked grin spreads across his face. If Hot wants to play games, he'll gladly mislead her. With a surge of power, Gi-yoon's senses expand, meticulously scanning the area for all of Hot's traps. His scan reveals 3 more hidden cameras, expertly placed by Hot in a light, a plant, and a mirror. Gi-yoon scoffs with contempt, his confidence unshaken by the information broker's petty surveillance. Miles away, the broker Hot watches her monitors, a predatory smile on her face as she waits for her trap to spring. Hot sees the message from Kay, her smug smile revealing she thinks her prey has taken the bait. But her confidence shatters into disbelief as a new, impossible message appears on her screen. She spins to her monitors, enraged to find the camera feeds are wiped, showing nothing but a dog. Gi-yoon kneels in a perfect blind spot, he calculated, his loyal Reckon standing guard. He retrieves the intel, disguised as a junk mail flyer, while hiding the phone on the dog. The Reckon sits patiently by the stairs, the perfect decoy as Gi-yoon makes his clean getaway. Back in his room, Hot's voice crackles from the phone, demanding to know who he really is. Gi-yoon's reply is a masterstroke of mockery, throwing her own price back in her face. Hot's face twists into a mask of pure fury, her mind reeling from being so thoroughly outplayed. She slams her fist down, screaming for her spider to scan the entire building and find him. Hot boasts about her 30 million yen spider, a high-tech drone designed for perfect infiltration. But her expensive spy drone is unceremoniously crushed by his mother's slipper as she walks by. Miles away, Hot lets out a blood-curdling scream, horrified at the loss of her expensive toy. Gi-yoon's mother, completely oblivious, simply asks her Achan what he's up to. A wave of panic washes over Gi-yoon. His secret mission has been compromised by his own mother. Through the drone's dying connection, Hot hears the woman's voice, her mind reeling in confusion. A shocking realization hits her. The drone had a call function, and she thinks Gi-yoon is talking. Convinced he's mocking her, Hot screams into her headset, believing she's finally heard his voice. She vows to get her revenge, promising a slow and painful retaliation for this humiliation. With a wicked grin, Hot threatens to expose his secrets and ruin his life across the internet. Hot's voice crackles with frustration through the broken drone, demanding a response from her silent adversary. But she realizes her taunts are falling on deaf ears, her anger turning to a strange, misplaced concern. Enraged by her failure, Hot cuts the power, her mind screaming in frustration at this unknown rival. Back in the apartment, Gi-yoon's mother scoops him up, unaware the crushed drone is still transmitting data. A new message from Hot appears. She has surrendered, offering the intel and supplies for free. Gi-yoon smirks, baffled by the information broker's bizarre and swift retreat from their mental battle. As his mother steps onto the balcony, a moment of deceptive peace settles over the unsuspecting city. Gi-yoon sighs with relief. His mother believes the Reckon let him out, his secret mission perfectly concealed. He glances at the tied-up Reckon, vowing to free his new, albeit troublesome ally later. Gi-yoon's mind shifts to the intel, a new warehouse supermarket that could be the key to his survival. Gi-yoon stares at the flyer on the table, frustrated that his mother hasn't noticed his only lead. Knowing he can't reveal the apocalypse, he must subtly guide her to the warehouse himself. His mother sighs, realizing they only have 5 days of milk left, a perfect opening for his plan. A sly, calculating grin spreads across Gi-yoon's face. This is the opportunity he was waiting for. He feigns sleep as his mother prepares to leave, her quiet movements all part of his calculation. Just as he hoped, her eyes land on the flyer, her curiosity piqued by the new supermarket. As she decides to check it out, Gi-yoon smirks triumphantly. His manipulation was a complete success. On their way to the warehouse, his mother enjoys the nice weather, oblivious to their true mission. The mighty warrior seethes in humiliation, forced to wear a pink outfit he deems unfit for a man. Meanwhile, the loyal Reckon is left behind to guard the house, unaware of the coming danger. But their trip is cut short as a security guard stops them, his hand outstretched with a stern warning. He warns of a spreading disease, urging them home, but Gi-yoon's mother insists she needs powdered milk. Gi-yoon scoffs at the government worker, knowing that in a few days there won't be a government left. The guard sighs, simply following orders as he pleads with them to return home for their own safety. But his sentence is cut short by a surge of blue energy, his face twisting in sudden unimaginable terror. In a horrifying flash, the man transforms into a massive horned beast, his humanity lost to the monster. A pained cry escapes its new form as it lashes out, and a spray of red marks the end of the man. Gi-yoon and his mother are frozen in shock, splattered with blood as the monster's shadow falls over them. The creature's jagged maw opens, its monstrous voice stammering the one word driving its hunger: protein. Gi-yoon's mind races, analyzing the foe, a strong, proliferative type with no obvious weak points. Gi-yoon knows if he can't use his power, both he and this woman will surely die. But before he can act, his mother scoops him up, her instincts screaming at her to run. She clutches him tight, her voice trembling as she tells her Achan to hold on. Gi-yoon knows it's useless. The monster's reflection in the glass shows it's already upon them. It's impossibly fast, a different species entirely, and Gyun realizes they have nowhere to run. But his tactical mind spots a chance, a fire extinguisher mounted on the nearby wall. With a surge of power, Gyun decides to break it, unleashing its contents as a weapon. A massive cloud of CO2 erupts, temporarily blinding the monster and obscuring its vision. The beast roars in confusion, caught completely off guard by the sudden disorienting blast. Seizing the opening, Gyun unleashes a powerful punch, striking the monster with all his might. The powerful blow sends the monster skidding across the floor, its armored body scraping the concrete. But it recovers instantly, unleashing the same crimson tendrils he stole from his monster mother. Gyun calculates he has only 30 seconds until the dust settles and his mother sees everything. His eyes glow with red energy as he vows to settle this fight within that critical 30-second window. The real problem is finishing this before the woman wakes up and discovers his impossible secret. He realizes she's unconscious from the initial shock, but there is absolutely no time to waste. His battle knowledge confirms the proliferative type's core is in its head, a single fatal weak point. But his previous punch, aimed at its leg, did absolutely no damage to its tough armored hide. The beast towers over him, completely unharmed and radiating a terrifying, murderous aura. Gyun grits his teeth, vowing to end this with his next all-or-nothing blow. The monster lets out a deafening roar, its maw crackling with raw, untamed power. It scoffs, vowing to end this now as it gathers energy for a devastating final blow. Gyun's eyes widen in alarm, his warrior's instinct screaming that a lethal attack is coming. The beast unleashes a whirlwind of destruction, its spinning form tearing up the concrete around Gyun. With a desperate cry, Gyun unleashes the crimson tendrils, a desperate attempt to intercept the attack. The tendrils lash out, hammering against the monster's tough hide in a furious but seemingly futile barrage. Blown back by the force, Gyun's eyes flash blue, his mind already shifting to a new desperate strategy. He curses, realizing his attack missed the core but still drew blood, a small victory in a losing battle. But a wicked grin spreads across Gyun's face. He knows with absolute certainty that he will be the victor. Using his last ounce of strength, he propels himself forward like a bullet for one final decisive strike. He closes the distance in an instant, his fist glowing with stolen power, ready to meet the monster's attack. His tiny fist connects, unleashing the crimson tendrils in a concentrated, devastating blow against the monster's chest. Gyun uses his small size to his advantage, knowing the giant beast can't easily track his movements. The monster retaliates with a furious swipe, its attack carving a massive arc through the air. Gyun realizes the monster's power is immense, but its movements are clumsy and unfocused. It's a deadly game of cat and mouse, with the monster's brute force smashing the concrete behind him. Gyun feels a grim satisfaction. His hellish past experience is proving invaluable even in this tiny body. He senses the monster weakening, a confident smirk spreading as he readies himself for the final blow. But the monster does something unexpected, tearing open a nearby metal grate with a desperate grunt. Blue energy surges into the monster's body, and Gyun watches in horror as it begins to regenerate. Gyun's mind screams in disbelief. This monster can regenerate its wounds. The beast stands fully healed, and Gyun curses, his window of opportunity slammed shut. He knows a frontal assault is suicide, but there's no way to create a diversion for a surprise attack. With his power fading and no options left, Gyun's only choice is to run for his life. But a groggy voice calls his name, and Gyun's blood runs cold. His mother is awake. She stumbles to her feet, her dazed eyes frantically searching for the source of the chaos. Her gaze falls upon the towering monster, its shadow swallowing her whole in the dust-filled air. Her face drains of all color, her mind struggling to comprehend the nightmare standing before her. Gyun screams in his mind, horrified by her foolish courage. She's no match for that thing. But a golden aura erupts around her as she charges, screaming for the monster to give her Achan back. Gyun stares in disbelief as his mother pulls out a high-voltage taser gun. He scoffs, dismissing the weapon, but watches as she creates a much-needed diversion. The shot diverts the monster's attention, and Gyun's mind screams, "Now's my chance!" The powerful electric shock stuns the beast, giving Gyun the perfect opening to strike. Gyun unleashes his full power, crimson tendrils erupting from his body with lethal intent. With a cold, merciless glare, the SSS rank warrior prepares to take out the trash. The monster roars in shock, its regeneration failing against the combined, unexpected assault. The crimson tendrils converge, a blur of red energy aimed directly at the monster's core. The attack lands, impaling the beast's chest and ending its monstrous life in an instant. He looks down at his unconscious mother, a flicker of gratitude in his cold, calculating eyes. A memory flashes through Gyun's mind, a man's hand holding his, a voice saying he needs more training. Gyun groans as he wakes up, his face a mask of pure exhaustion and annoyance. He finds himself being changed by a strange man who calmly asks if he's awake. Gyun's eyes snap open to a man with red eyes, his mind reeling with confusion and alarm. When the stranger tries to feed him, Gyun spits milk in his face, his pride utterly offended. His mother rushes in, apologizing for the commotion, seemingly unharmed after the monster attack. The man awkwardly explains that he must have scared her, completely misgendering the furious Gyun. Gyun glares, realizing this must be the Reckon's former owner, his suspicion growing by the second. As his mother places him in a baby seat, she thanks the man for looking after their dog. Gyun's mind races. This man saw the monster, so why is he acting like nothing happened? Gyun notices his mother's damp hair, realizing she must have showered to wash away the blood and fear. He recalls seeing her crying in secret after the attack, her cheerful demeanor just a fragile mask. The man, addressing his mother as Ms. Hayashi, announces they're all hoarding supplies, a direct result of the attack. Gyun smirks with his arms crossed. Cooperating to survive is a sound strategy even for these amateurs. But a sudden panic hits him. He forgot to collect the crystal core from the monster he defeated. His eyes scan the wreckage, spotting the monster's remains and the faint glow of his valuable prize. He crawls to the corpse, using his tail of Taoti to pierce the ground and absorb the red crystal core. As the power flows into him, Gyun wonders if he's gained the monster's signature hardening ability. He imagines using the new power as a shield, a wicked grin spreading across his face at the possibilities. But his triumphant thoughts are cut short as a voice calls out, and Gyun turns in confusion. The man stands over the monster's corpse, callously discussing how the mother and child are a burden. With a chilling smile, he reveals his plan. They're bringing them along precisely to be used as bait. Gyun's blood runs cold. He realizes this man is dangerously pragmatic and utterly ruthless. The man grins, pulling out a wallet as he plans to hoard even more supplies for himself. But the sound of Gyun's retracting tail alerts the man, whose head snaps around with a sharp, "Who's there?" Gyun panics, realizing in his haste to hide, he's dropped the precious monster crystal on the ground. The man spots him, his tense expression softening as he says with relief, "Oh, kid, so it was you." He crouches down, patting Gyun's head and asking how a baby could have gotten all the way out here. But his thoughts turn murderous as he decides that killing a baby with his own hands is no problem at all. Gyun stares up in utter horror, his mind screaming in disbelief at the man's casual insanity. Back in the car, his mother's gentle hand on his cheek is a stark contrast to Gyun's simmering rage. The car is now full, and Gyun scoffs internally as the ruthless man takes the driver's seat. He seethes, knowing he lost the crystal core, a power that could have easily crushed this arrogant fool. As his mother offers snacks, the others question the danger, their naivety grating on Gyun's nerves. The driver waves to another man, leaving him behind to guard their newly acquired supplies at the warehouse. The red car speeds away from the warehouse, a tiny, vulnerable vessel in a world about to collapse. Gyun watches them, understanding their selfish actions are a crude form of self-defense in this new world. He knows from experience that seeing a monster isn't enough to make people accept the cataclysm's reality. They drive past the guard's corpse, and Gyun notes how they hide their fear behind a mask of normalcy. A familiar voice breaks the tension as the Reckon, hidden in the back, politely asks for a sandwich. His mother, Hayashi Sakuragi, kindly offers a sandwich to the talking dog, while Gyun just picks his nose. A young man with glasses, Den Sora from room 103, politely asks if he can have a hot dog too. Ignoring the others, Hayashi Sakuragi offers a sandwich to Gyun, her focus entirely on her son. A wicked, calculating grin spreads across Gyun's face. These naive fools will be his pawns. Den Sora thanks her, asking if it's difficult for her to manage alone with her son. A young woman, Liu Kexian, questions why Hayashi would risk coming out, judging her situation. Hayashi sighs, explaining that Gyun has been a handful, forcing her to bring him along. The driver, Chen Shi, declares that Mrs. Hayashi will be part of their new combat force. He reasons that her taser and the Reckon in the back give them all the protection they need. Hayashi admits she can't remember the fight, as Gyun feigns sleep, coldly assessing her weakness. Chenshu tries to calm his nerves, foolishly believing there won't be any more monsters. But his false confidence shatters as a sudden, terrifying sound echoes through the street. Through the windshield, they see a woman desperately fleeing from an unseen horror. A grotesque green hand bursts from a storefront, its claws reaching for the terrified woman. A swarm of insectoid monsters pours into the street, their chittering cries filling the air. Liu Kexian screams in pure terror, her face a mask of helpless despair at the unfolding nightmare. Panic grips the car's occupants, their faces frozen in shock, but Gyun's eyes are cold with resolve. Chenshu slams his foot on the gas, screaming for everyone to hold on tight as he swerves. The van tears down the road, a desperate attempt to outrun the monstrous horde behind them. They swerve wildly around an abandoned truck, the sounds of the pursuing monsters echoing behind them. The Reckon barks furiously from the car as the insectoid monsters swarm a civilian, her cries for help lost in the chaos. Inside, Hayashi Sakuragi groans from the whiplash, while Gyun coldly observes the unfolding disaster. Gyun's eyes narrow as he takes in the scene. The strange, stick-like creatures have completely surrounded their vehicle. His mind flashes with knowledge, recognizing the distinct insect heads and sting marks of artificial humans. He recalls the parasite-type monster, an insect tamer, that turns people into these puppets, weak alone but deadly in a swarm. As more creatures pour into the street, Gyun knows their only chance is to run, and to run now. Chenshu slams his hands on the wheel, his voice cracking with fear as he screams that they're surrounded. A monster's hand smashes against the window, and Chenshu realizes with horror that the glass won't protect them. Gyun grips his seatbelt, frustrated that he can't make a move without drawing the entire horde's attention. He seethes, knowing his power only lasts 30 seconds. Using it all here would be a death sentence. The driver Chenshu glances back at his terrified passengers, wondering if any of them have any combat power. Liu Kexian watches in horror as the insectoid monsters overwhelm a woman, her desperate cries for help lost in the chaos. Her fear turns to outrage as Liu Kexian screams at the others, demanding they save the helpless girl. Gyun glares with contempt, his mind mocking her hollow words. He knows she won't lift a finger. Densora scoffs, sarcastically asking Liu Kexian if we means everyone but her should go fight. Gyun scoffs internally, knowing that opportunistic people like her are nothing but a burden in a crisis. Densora bluntly tells Liu Kexian to get lost, declaring her useless in a real fight. But an older man in the front seat calmly interrupts, stating that it's already too late. He points out the bite mark on the woman's neck, a grim sign that she's already been infected. Gyun notes the man's sharp observation skills, mentally filing him away as useful for logistics, not combat. The older man turns to the driver, Chenshu, asking if they should just charge through the horde. Chenshu grips the wheel, knowing they have to defeat the monsters before they're all annihilated. Gyun glares at the driver, his mind screaming in suspicion that Chenshu plans to sacrifice them. But Chenshu just smirks, his cynical expression showing he believes everyone is unreliable in a crisis. Suddenly, the timid Densora leaps up, clutching a pillow and shouting that he'll go fight. His false bravado crumbles into panic, his eyes swirling as he tries to convince himself he's not afraid. Gyun grits his teeth, forcing himself to think as his mind desperately searches for a way out. Spurred by his outburst, Liu Kexian announces she'll get a weapon and join him in the fight. Densora's courage instantly evaporates as he asks if it's okay for him not to go now. As he begs Liu Kexian to go instead, a monster's claw bursts through the seat, impaling him from behind. Densora stares down in disbelief at the bloody claw protruding from his chest. His face contorts in terror, a final choked gasp escaping his lips as his life fades. With a brutal flick, the monster flings Densora's lifeless body from the van like a discarded toy. Razor-sharp claws dig into the roof as Liu Kexian screams, paralyzed by the horror unfolding before her. The true monster reveals itself, the insect tamer, its masked face a chilling portrait of malice. Before Liu Kexian can react, a sharp tendril pierces her chest, her cry of defiance cut short. A sickening, chittering laugh echoes in the van, the creature reveling in its cruel victory. Gyun's eyes narrow as Hayashi Sakuragi freezes in fear. He's finally located the main body. A frustrated smirk crosses Gyun's face. He's annoyed this little punk took so long to show itself. Resigned, Gyun prepares to move, realizing he has no choice but to reveal his power here and now. Gyun's eyes widen in alarm as the monster's tendril lunges for his mother, his mind screaming, "This is bad!" The tendril stops just short of Hayashi Sakuraji's face, her expression a mask of pure terror. But the older man has intercepted the attack, his hand gripping the tendril with impossible strength. Splattered with blood, the man coldly asks the creature, "Are you the boss of the monsters?" leaving Gyun stunned. With a brutal twist, the man snaps the creature's tendril, his raw power on full display. He calmly holds the sharpened end of the broken tendril, his gaze fixed on his terrified target. In a blur of motion, the older man drives the makeshift weapon deep into the insect tamer's head. Gyun stares in utter disbelief, his mind struggling to comprehend what this old man truly is. His thoughts race in shock, wondering if the man just defeated a monster with his bare hands. The insect tamer's head shatters as the old man finishes his brutal, decisive counterattack. The old man's eyes are cold and steady, his expression revealing a lifetime of unseen battles. With a final, brutal motion, he discards the monster's body, the fight over in a matter of seconds. He stands over the corpse, the driver Chenshu staring in disbelief at the sudden, violent display. Splattered in blood, the old man sighs with weary resignation, muttering that he's getting too old for this. But Gyun's eyes sparkle with manic glee. He's just found a powerful, unexpected new asset. His excitement fades to grim certainty as he looks at the corpse. He knows this fight isn't over yet. Gyun studies the mysterious old man, a powerful variable he hadn't accounted for in his plans. But his past life's knowledge screams a warning. A simple stab to the heart won't kill a parasite type. As if on cue, the monster's body convulses, its shattered form beginning to gruesomely regenerate. Gyun grits his teeth in frustration, realizing he'll have to step in and finish the job himself. Gyun unleashes a piercing cry, creating the perfect distraction for the old man to act. The old man spins around, shocked as the insect tamer's tendrils lash out with renewed fury. He dodges just in time, the monster's claw tearing through the seat where he just sat. A memory flashes. This man was in a special combat division and knows this monster's weakness. Gyun's mind clicks into place. This old man is a veteran monster hunter, a true professional. With a grim scoff, the old man squares up, his posture radiating a quiet, deadly confidence. He unleashes a brutal punch, shattering the creature's mask in a spray of dark fluid. But he knows it's not enough, his eyes narrowing as he prepares for the final, decisive move. With a furious roar, he leaps forward, vowing to crush the monster's head with his bare hands. Gyun watches, impressed by the man's refined battle knowledge and quick, ruthless decision-making. Gyun stares at the aftermath, a chilling realization dawning. This old man was from the military. He recalls rumors from his past life as the organization's dog, long after the military had been wiped out. After the government's collapse, the military became the last line of defense, making them the organization's enemy. He remembers their core unit, a special combat division that underwent intense secret training. With a powerful new ally, Gyun grins, knowing they can finally reach the supermarket safely. The old man decides they must press on, while Gyun's mind races, plotting how to secure this new asset. His mind conjures wicked schemes, blackmail, deception, or simply clinging to the man for protection. Lost in his plotting, Gyun is startled as the old man's hand gently pats his head. The old man tells Hayashi Sakuraji to stay close, offering to protect her and the child with his life. As Hayashi nervously agrees, the old man humbly asks her not to expect too much from him. Hayashi Sakuraji thanks the old man, who humbly insists Gyun's cry was the distraction that saved his life. The old man muses about foolishness and profit, and Gyun takes it personally, seething at the perceived insult. Strapped in his seat, Gyun scoffs but pragmatically decides to accept the powerful old man's protection for now. They finally arrive at the warehouse, but the driver Chenshu notes with confusion that the main gate is closed. Hayashi checks the flyer, confused because the ad promised they'd be open, while Gyun stews in his seat. Gyun's eyes narrow. He suspects the master hacker Hot has shut the gate remotely, another one of her twisted games. But just as they're about to give up, the massive warehouse gate begins to rumble open on its own. Chenshu smirks, claiming a friend of his opened it, a smug look on his face as he pockets his phone. Gyun's mind freezes, his sharp instincts telling him something about the driver's convenient story doesn't add up. A glance at the phone reveals the truth. A message from Hot, confirming Gyun's worst fear. This man is connected to her. Gyun's blood runs cold, his mind screaming in disbelief. Hot's web is far more tangled than he imagined. Pushed in a shopping cart, Gyun sighs with exhaustion, but his weary eyes still burn with cold resolve. Hayashi Sakuragi marvels at the massive warehouse as the group ventures into the eerie, silent aisles. Gyun scans the area, noting the lack of cameras. Hot wants them here, unobserved and vulnerable. His eyes widen as he spots the old man, who is calmly loading an entire weapons rack onto his back. Gyun smirks. This is the ruthless efficiency of a former Special Combat Division soldier. His brief moment of admiration is cut short as he realizes the driver, Chen Shi, has vanished from sight. Hayashi Sakuragi looks around, naively wondering how they'll pay with no staff in sight. With a smug clap, Chen Shi reappears, his grin promising an answer that Gyun already dreads. He declares with a flourish that their organization has already purchased everything in the store. The reckon's protective barking enrages Chen Shi, who viciously screams for the dog to shut up. A dark energy pulses from Chen Shi's arm as he reveals his betrayal. They were just pawns and no longer needed. Gyun's eyes widen in horror, recognizing the Black Lotus tattoo. Chen Shi is a member of the organization. A cold, familiar fury settles over Gyun. He's been manipulated by his sworn enemies from the start. A new menacing figure with glowing red eyes appears, declaring the supplies now belong to the East Lotus Society. The leader turns, his hand resting on a gun as he gives the old man a chilling final warning. Gyun's mind screams in recognition. The East Lotus Society are the enforcers for the organization's hunting project. He remembers their reputation, ruthless criminals who sensed the disaster and hoarded supplies for themselves. It all clicks into place. Chen Shi's smug, arrogant tone was a perfect match for the man from his past. Gyun's face twists into a mask of pure hatred, his mind screaming a single deadly promise: "You're dead." The old man's face hardens as he realizes the depth of Chen Shi's betrayal. They're completely surrounded. He grips a shovel, his voice cold as he identifies the East Lotus Society, his mind already forming a plan. With a veteran's instinct, the old man lunges, his battle cry echoing as he aims to take out the leader first. But Chen Shi intercepts the blow with a surge of power, his taunt echoing as the shovel stops dead in its tracks. Enraged, Chen Shi unleashes his ability, locking the shovel in place and revealing his own hidden, deadly power. Realizing he's outmatched, the old man screams for Hayashi Sakuragi to flee, trying to buy her precious seconds. A sudden barrage of gunfire erupts from the upper levels, pinning them down in a hail of bullets. The leader smirks, confused by the old man's defiant calm in the face of what should be certain death. But the old man's calm is a facade. His eyes betray a grim certainty that their situation is utterly hopeless. Unseen by the combatants, a hand clicks a remote, a silent action that will change the course of the fight. The remote triggers a hidden forklift, sending tons of cargo crashing down on the charging old man. The veteran's face twists in shock, his years of combat experience useless against this crude, effective trap. The forklift slams into the shelving, a brutal, remote-controlled attack that turns the warehouse into a death trap. Buried under the debris, the old man groans in pain, his heroic charge brought to a dusty, ignominious end. The East Lotus leader presses a gun to the old man's head, his victory cold and absolute. With a chilling smirk, the leader reveals he knows the man's past, vowing not to let a veteran escape. His finger tightens on the trigger, the sharp click echoing the finality of the old man's fate. But a new voice shouts, "Don't move!" as a car door is flung open with desperate force. The hacker hot stands there, her gun trained on the leader as she demands to know why he's doing this. The leader turns, a look of mocking amusement on his face as he asks, "You're seriously asking that?" Hot's hands tremble, but she holds the taser steady, her voice cracking as she threatens to shoot. Chen Shi mocks the defeated old man, sarcastically asking why they couldn't just share the supplies. A condescending smirk spreads across Chen Shi's face as he dismisses her threat, calling her a funny one. The scene flashes back, showing Hot pushing Gyun as the Reckon growls, a tense start to their journey. Chen Shi explains he found the Reckon after its previous owner, his debt target, was already dead. He takes a drag from his cigarette, coldly lamenting that his target's death leaves him with no one to torment. His eyes glint with a sinister idea as he recalls meeting Hayashi's family just as he planned to discard the dog. He pushes the caged Reckon, smugly declaring himself the dog's new cruel master. The memory shifts to Hot's naive excitement over the puppy, a stark contrast to Chen Shi's predatory grin. His thoughts betray his true nature, coldly assessing the baby and dog as nothing more than assets. A wicked grin spreads across Chenshu's face. Leaving the dog with her was the perfect cruel opportunity. He feigns concern, his words dripping with poison as he praises Hayashi for her foolish kindness. Back in the present, Gyun seethes in the shopping cart, his tiny fists clenched in silent, impotent rage. Chenshu holds a flare aloft, declaring with a sneer that there's not enough supplies for everyone to share. But the old man moves with startling speed, his hand lashing out as he refuses to be a victim. He stands defiant, a lone warrior facing down the East Lotus Society thugs who now surround him. From above, the grim reality sets in. They are hopelessly outnumbered, trapped on the cold warehouse floor. The leader scoffs, guns trained on them, as he declares that weaklings who don't know their place must be culled. Chenshu's words, "The weak deserve to die," strike a raw nerve, igniting a familiar fire in Gyun's eyes. A horrifying memory surfaces, a dark cell, a taunting voice, and the desperation that forged Gyun's very soul. But a blur of yellow fur launches forward as the Reckon, with a defiant yelp, viciously bites Chenshu's leg. The East Lotus thugs immediately turn their guns on the brave dog, their focus completely diverted from their primary targets. From the shopping cart, Gyun sees his opening, shouting, "Now!" as he unleashes a strange blue slime-like energy. The energy erupts in a blinding flash, a concussive blast of light that engulfs the entire warehouse. The thugs cry out in panic, their vision gone as they stumble blindly in the sudden, disorienting darkness. As the leader curses in the chaos, Gyun's body ignites with red energy, his true power unleashed. He becomes a crimson blur, rocketing towards the stunned leader with the force of a cannonball. His tiny fist connects in a brutal uppercut, sending the leader flying backwards, completely defenseless. The leader's finger tightens on the trigger, but only a useless click answers his panicked attempt to fire. With the leader down, the old man seizes the moment, unleashing his own brutal justice on the remaining thugs. The chaos stills for a heartbeat as the old man's shocked gaze meets Gyun's panicked one. A cold dread washes over Gyun. In the heat of battle, his impossible secret has been seen. His mind screams in terror. A military man would never see a powered child, only a monster to be eliminated. A horrifying vision flashes in his mind. Captured, experimented on, his life stolen for research. In the disorienting flash, the leader's gun clatters to the floor, his reign of terror ending with a thud. But the old man's mind races, his sharp eyes having caught the impossible truth. Is that kid a monster? The battle becomes a blur of motion, the veteran soldier and the powered infant moving in a deadly, chaotic dance. Gyun watches the old man from the shadows, his own paranoia twisting the veteran's actions into something suspicious. The old man creates a flash of light, a deliberate move that Gyun misinterprets as a threat. Hiding atop the shelves, Gyun glares down at the veteran, frustrated that this sharp-eyed old man is the one who saw everything. Gyun's paranoia twists into a cold resolve. If the old man is a witness, then he must be eliminated first. But his murderous thoughts are cut short by a sudden sound that freezes Gyun, the old man, and Hot in their tracks. A strange blue slime creature materializes in the darkness, its musical note form baffling the combatants. The East Lotus thugs lower their weapons, their confusion overriding their aggression as they stare at the bizarre slime. From his perch, Gyun sees their attention is completely fixed on the new monster, a perfect diversion. A devious smirk spreads across Gyun's face. Fate has just handed him the perfect chance to escape. Using his powers with practiced stealth, he silently maneuvers the shopping cart away from the chaos. But the old man's keen eyes are still sharp, his focus shifting to analyze this strange new threat. His eyes widen in sudden, sharp realization as he understands the creature's true, terrifying nature. The slime engulfs him, its body mimicking his form as he realizes with horror it's a shapeshifter. The slime solidifies into a perfect, glowing clone of the old man, lunging forward with deadly intent. Chaos erupts as the slime engulfs the East Lotus thugs, their panicked cries echoing in the warehouse. The old man's eyes narrow with grim understanding, his mind processing the monster's terrifying ability. He realizes with weary frustration that the monster is creating a clone, a troublesome new opponent. The clone warns him to stay back, and the old man hesitates, facing a perfect hostile copy of himself. Hot stares in confusion as a slime clone of her materializes, while the real Gyun points from the floor. Gi-yoon wails theatrically in the cart, internally smirking that his ruse is the perfect cover for his escape. His fake tears stream down his face as he mentally urges the old man to hurry up and fight. The Gi-yoon clone pokes his real counterpart, its thoughts a bizarre mix of curiosity and confusion. With blinding speed, the old man's clone strikes, using his own fighting style to send him reeling back. But the veteran soldier reacts instantly, blocking his clone's attack with a scavenged shovel. With a brutal shove, he smashes the clone's head, a swift and decisive counterattack. But the head regenerates instantly, and the old man realizes a slime type has no true weak point there. The slime reforms around him, and he sighs with weary frustration, knowing this is going to be a pain. He drops the shovel and stomps hard on the weapon case, his mind already shifting to a new plan. As the case springs open to reveal an arsenal, he confirms his theory: this thing is a monster similar to a slime. While the clones menace a terrified Hot and a wailing Gi-yoon, the old man shouts that its weakness is, "It's weak to electricity," his voice booms, a sudden flash of yellow light filling the warehouse. Hot immediately zaps her clone with the taser, and the old man adds that it's also weak to dryness. Gi-yoon unleashes his power, blasting his own clone apart as the old man reveals its final weakness: excessive attacks. The old man unloads his shotgun, but his eyes widen in disbelief as the main body of the slime survives the blast. Another clone corners the terrified Hot, while Gi-yoon watches from the cart, his feigned helplessness a perfect mask. Gi-yoon is grudgingly impressed by the old man's skill as Hot is blasted by her own clone's attack. The old man glances back, satisfied he's created a cover story, but Gi-yoon glares, annoyed by the man's knowing look. But their relief is short-lived as the old man realizes the wounded East Lotus leader is still alive. Gi-yoon notes with grim satisfaction that the old man's shotgun blast at least did some serious damage. The leader stumbles to his feet, his eyes burning with hatred as he vows not to let them escape. Gi-yoon's face twists in a snarl, his mind screaming with the promise to kill this persistent fool himself. But as the old man attacks, Gi-yoon hesitates, trapped by the fear of exposing his true identity again. The leader shoves Hot aside with a brutal backhand, and Gi-yoon's eyes widen in alarm as the situation spirals. The leader screams that he's taking the kid, his eyes locked on the old man in a desperate standoff. He grabs Gi-yoon, pressing a gun to the baby's head as he screams for them to drop their weapons. But Gi-yoon's fear melts into a wicked grin. Being a hostage is the perfect, convenient cover. The leader repeats his threat to kill the child, but Gi-yoon is completely unfazed by the empty bluff. The old man and Hot watch in silence, the veteran's mind racing for a solution to the standoff. Suddenly, the slime monster lunges from the shadows, its blue form targeting the distracted leader. Caught by the slime, the leader snarls and pulls the pin on a grenade, choosing mutual destruction. A deafening explosion rips through the warehouse, engulfing the leader and his hostage in fire and light. Amidst the chaos, Gi-yoon uses his power to secretly absorb the first-grade crystal core from the dying leader. The blast throws the leader back, his body shielding Gi-yoon, who glares, annoyed at being used as a human shield. The old man snarls in frustration, cursing the persistent slime monster that refuses to die. Outside, more East Lotus thugs wait, casually remarking on how quickly the chaos inside was handled. Gi-yoon's face darkens with annoyance. He realizes the fight is far from over. The veteran emerges from the smoke, holding Gi-yoon as he grimly tells the thugs that things went sideways. He barks orders to get the car ready, his voice filled with an urgent need to escape the warehouse. But as his collar shifts, Gi-yoon's eyes lock onto a familiar tattoo on the man's neck. The word lie. A memory flashes, a flamboyant man in a fur coat, and Gi-yoon's mind screams in recognition of the bastard named Lee. He remembers the man always wore a mask, but the lie tattoo was a detail he never forgot. Gi-yoon's world shatters. The hero who saved them is one of the most infamous figures from his past life. The man Lee dangles him in the air, his gruff question confirming Gi-yoon's worst fears about his new protector. Lai looks up in alarm as a swirling red energy erupts from the bodies of the fallen thugs. Gi-yoon's eyes widen with grim recognition. He knows this deadly phenomenon as crimson dust. His past knowledge screams a warning. This dust is lethal, twisting any human it touches. The dust painfully warps their bodies, transforming the fallen men into grotesque, mindless monsters. As the newly formed creatures rise, their sole purpose is to attack any human in sight. With a demonic snarl, one of the new monsters lunges directly towards Lai and the child. Lai curses, his face a mask of grim determination as he prepares to evade the attack. But in a horrifying betrayal, Lai shouts, "You be the shield," and throws Gyun at the monster. As Gyun flies through the air, his shock turns to rage. Lai is using him as bait to escape. A dark power stirs within him, his mind screaming a promise to unleash his true strength. The first-grade crystal core pulses in Gyun's hand, its raw power merging with his own. Energy erupts from him, a swirling vortex of rage and power with his determined face at its very center. His infant body dissolves into shadow, reforming into the image of his past self with a cold, confident smirk. "This is my true power now," he declares, his form crackling with dark energy, no longer a helpless child. With a look of pure, unadulterated fury, Gyun promises himself that he is finally going to let loose. The winged crimson dust monster dives to attack, but Gyun stands ready, his tail of Taudi unfurling to meet it. A blur of pure shadow intercepts the monster's strike, a new technique born from Gyun's rage. Gyun understands the two crystal cores have combined, granting him a new intangible shadow ability. But the remaining crimson dust coalesces, forming a single colossal monster that towers over the battlefield. The giant beast brings its fist down in a devastating blow, but Gyun stands firm, ready to meet its power. The colossal monster's fist crashes down, but Gyun's shadow form meets it with a blinding flash of red energy. His tail of Taudi morphs into a spiraling drill, effortlessly piercing the monster's arm and deflecting the blow. Gyun revels in the new power, realizing with a smirk how easily he can now control his shadow form. He unleashes his energy in a concentrated blast, the shadow tendrils converging on the monster's core. The crimson dust monster is torn apart from the inside, its body shredding into a vortex of red and black. As the monster's remains rain down, a stunned Lai can only stammer, "Just who the hell are you?" Gyun lands with a cool smirk, taunting the man who betrayed him. "You didn't see that transformation earlier, right?" With glowing eyes and a terrifying calm, Gyun points at the traitor and declares, "Next up, it's your turn." Gyun's face is a mask of cold fury, a stark contrast to the utter terror now consuming Lai. A wicked, predatory grin spreads across Gyun's face, a silent promise of the vengeance to come. Gyun's voice echoes with cold fury as he vows to make Lai pay for the debts of a past life. He plummets towards the terrified man, a living missile of pure, concentrated vengeance. In a desperate gamble, Lai raises his pistol, his face a mask of fear as he fires wildly. But to Gyun's enhanced senses, the bullet moves in slow motion. He scoffs, "So slow." He revels in his new form, realizing its power far surpasses the limits of his infant body. As the bullet clatters uselessly to the floor, Gyun makes a mental note to test the limits of his new shadow power. Lai can only stammer in disbelief, his mind struggling to comprehend if the child is now a monster. Before Lai can react, a tendril of pure shadow lashes out, engulfing his face in a suffocating grip. With a single brutal motion, Gyun smashes the traitor's head into the cold concrete floor. Lai's body goes limp, his expression frozen in a silent scream as his betrayal earns its final bloody price. His power crackling around him, Gyun declares with cold finality, "This is the end." Blood erupts from Li's mouth, a testament to the brutal, decisive force of Gyun's attack. But as Lai collapses, he murmurs a cryptic phrase, realizing that guy's story was true all along. Gyun's mind races, his infant form confused by the mention of this mysterious guy. With a sneer, Lai reveals a syringe, taunting the child that the fight isn't over yet. Before Gyun can react, Lai plunges the needle into his own body, a final, desperate gamble. Lai's body convulses violently, his flesh bubbling and warping into a grotesque, monstrous new form. A chilling memory surfaces. The organization was researching a drug to create self-aware monsters. He stares at the massive, mutating creature, wondering if this is the fruit of their twisted research. But his power flickers out, leaving Gyun a helpless, wide-eyed infant once more, utterly unprepared. As Li transforms, a terrifying memory of the Punisher monster floods Gyun's mind. His past self's voice echoes in his head. Why this guy? He'd fought this beast before. He remembers the overwhelming scale of the Punisher, a monster that dwarfed even his full power. The memory of its devastating attack flashes before his eyes, a blow that leveled entire city blocks. In his memory, he dodged desperately, his past self cursing the creature's relentless, brutal assault. He recalls how his most powerful attacks were useless, shattering against the monster's impenetrable hide. The memory of his own frustration burns, his past self realizing how hopelessly outmatched he truly was. The Punisher's core would pulse with malevolent energy, unleashing waves that tore the battlefield apart. He remembers creating shadow clones, only to watch them be annihilated by the monster's raw power. The memory ends with his past self being overwhelmed, a brutal defeat he has never forgotten. His memory burns with the face of his killer, the one man who had truly defeated him. He remembers the brutal truth. The entire battle had been a trap, ending in his own bloody demise. But even then, his past self fought with desperate fury, refusing to go down without a fight. His taunt echoes in his memory, a bitter cry against a foe he could not overcome. He recalls staring down the monster's core, knowing his own power was not enough to win. The memory of dodging city-leveling attacks is a stark reminder of the Punisher's overwhelming power. But as the memory fades, a new resolve hardens in Gi-yoon's soul. He is not the same man he was. His infant eyes burn with power as he vows to rewrite his history. He will not be killed twice. But just as he prepares for round 2, a massive explosion rocks the battlefield from a different direction. Gi-yoon's head whips around in shock, his mind screaming in confusion. "Who's that?" But from the smoke, Lai rises to his feet, his shotgun steady despite the chaos around him. His veteran eyes narrow, his voice grim as he identifies the hulking beast as the Big Eye Monster. With a smirk, he loads a special shell he stole from the East Lotus Society, ready to put it to good use. He fires, unleashing a massive fiery explosion that rockets towards the towering Punisher. The shell finds its mark, exploding directly against the monster's core in a blinding flash. Gi-yoon watches, confused by the man's strange nickname for the beast that haunts his memories. But for Lee, a memory surfaces, his expression shifting to a grin of dawning, terrible understanding. He recalls a blindfolded woman from the organization, her voice foretelling the world's coming catastrophes. She offered him a path to survival, an invitation to join their ranks under the badge of number 10. And with that offer came a little present, the very syringe that has now turned him into a monster. The woman's voice was a silken trap, calling the syringe a talisman to uncover his true nature. Lai remembers his skepticism, his mind fighting the tempting poisonous words of the organization. He'd questioned himself then, wondering what true nature this mysterious drug could possibly reveal. But back in the present, clutching the empty syringe, Lai grins with manic clarity after taking the injection. With blood on his lips and a crazed look in his eyes, he realizes he finally understands his purpose. He was born to be a predator, a man who thrives by exploiting the weaknesses of others. The memory shifts, showing a young Lai callously telling a woman her husband is cheating on her. The woman explodes in a fury of denial, her face contorted with shock and rage at the boy's words. But the boy calmly points to a man on the phone, his accusation cold, calculated, and undeniably true. He twists the knife, mimicking her husband's insult with a cruel, childish gesture to shatter her world. The woman's face contorts in a mask of pure rage, her fists clenched as the boy's words sink in. With a furious scream, she unleashes her pain on her husband, the slap echoing his betrayal. Her husband's shock turns to anger, his own words ending their marriage in a single, brutal moment. Collapsed and broken, the woman weeps, her deepest insecurities now a source of public shame. The young Lai offers a gentle hand, his voice a silken trap promising escape from her pain. He weaves a fantasy of a better world, a spider's web of lies to ensnare his vulnerable prey. Lai's memory confirms his life's work, a predator who exploited hearts and drained people of everything they had. He wasn't becoming a monster. He was simply embracing the cruel, manipulative core of his human nature. The syringe unlocked his final form, Lai, the level 4 trickster, a con artist reborn as a true monster. Back in the present, the trickster taunts Gi-yoon, revealing his power to manifest a person's deepest fears. Gi-yoon's shadow form deflects a powerful blow, realizing that attacking this phantom blindly will not work. The memory of his past self's final resolve hardens his spirit. He must wait for the perfect moment to win. But as the illusion strikes, its face cracks unexpectedly, a flicker of confusion in its glowing red eye. Gi-yoon's shadow hand touches the illusion's core, a silent question echoing in the monster's mind. Who? The illusion suddenly turns on its master, forcing Lee to fire his shotgun in a desperate defensive blast. The monster's core glows with rage, recognizing its new target as it roars, "It's you again!" Unleashing a barrage of energy spikes, the Punisher illusion screams at its own creator, Damn geezer, just die already. Lai scrambles for cover, his own terrifying creation now turned against him in a hail of deadly red light. Panting behind a wall, Lai glares into the chaos, his plan having backfired in the worst possible way. With a furious roar, Lai slams his shotgun down, unleashing a concussive blast of fire to counter the assault. The trickster recoils from the assault, his face twisted in rage as he curses the persistent bastard. With a final shriek to die, the Punisher illusion unleashes a massive barrage of red energy, engulfing Lai completely. From the sidelines, Gi-yoon strains to see through the dust, his red eyes catching an unexpected movement. As the smoke clears, Gi-yoon realizes Lee has vanished, his shadow form scanning the rubble in confusion. But Gi-yoon emerges from the chaos, a predatory smirk on his face as he declares, "Found you." Standing atop the fading illusion, Gi-yoon looks down as the trickster can only curse in utter disbelief. Lai's mind screams in confusion, wondering how Gi-yoon could have possibly broken his powerful hallucination. He clutches his head, baffled at how his ultimate ability was shattered in a matter of moments. Gi-yoon's voice cuts through the silence, dismissing him as nothing more than a level 4 con man. With a final, crushing insult, Gi-yoon calls Lai an insect who only knows how to deceive people. With glowing eyes and bared teeth, Gi-yoon screams that the trickster's power is nothing special. His shadow tendrils lash out, effortlessly countering the illusion of the Punisher monster. The trickster, Lai, lunges in a rage, cursing the shadow tentacles that disrupt his power. He desperately tries to reassert control, unleashing another wave of hallucinatory energy. But Lee's ultimate ability fails, unable to penetrate Gi-yoon's unbreakable will. The trickster's confidence shatters, his face twisting in pure, unadulterated panic. With a final, desperate scream to just die, Lai unleashes a massive barrage of energy spikes. But Gi-yoon's resolve is forged in fire, fueled by the bitter memory of his past life's death. He meets the assault head-on, vowing to make the trickster taste his full, unrestrained power. Lai can only cross his arms in terror, stammering in disbelief as Gi-yoon's final attack descends. Gi-yoon's shadow attack overwhelms Lee's power, erupting in a cataclysmic blast of red and black energy. The trickster's body begins to dissolve, a viscous green fluid pouring from the fatal wound. Lai's monstrous form melts away, his power failing as he collapses into a puddle of green slime. Staring in disbelief, the dying trickster can only stammer, "You," his mind unable to process his defeat. Gi-yoon lands gracefully amidst the settling dust, his victory absolute and undeniable. With a dismissive wave, Gi-yoon coldly asks the dissolving conman, "Are you done?" But Gi-yoon's eyes glow with grim knowledge as he declares, "But this is just the beginning." He foretells the coming apocalypse, the first deformed tide, a wave of monsters that will soon descend. Gi-yoon's shadow arm morphs into a massive, jagged blade, preparing to deliver the final, merciless blow. As Lee begs him to wait, Gi-yoon lunges, declaring he has no interest in a traitor's last words. But Gi-yoon's mind is thrown back into another memory, his past self cursing in frustration during a desperate battle. He remembers fighting a hooded opponent, a whirlwind of blue energy and relentless, brutal strikes. From the sidelines, a trusted ally watched in horror, recognizing the impossible power on display. The man could only marvel at his friend's tenacity, fighting on despite his grievous wounds. His past self, Achan, grits his teeth, his eyes locking onto his target's only weakness. With a final surge of power, Achan lunges forward, determined to end the fight in one decisive blow. But his attack freezes as a familiar voice calls his name, his eyes widening in horrified recognition. A woman stands before his target, her tear-filled eyes pleading, "Will you kill Mama?" Achan scoffs in bitter resignation, his attack faltering as his enemy uses an innocent life against him. In that moment of hesitation, a hidden enemy strikes, engulfing Achan in a fiery, explosive ambush. The blast sends Achan flying, his body engulfed in a maelstrom of fire and debris. Amidst the smoke and rubble, Achan struggles to his knees, his body battered but his will unbroken. He glares at his foe, realizing with cold frustration, this will be annoying. But a sinister laugh echoes as the hooded figure stands unscathed, a picture of arrogant power. The figure mocks him, its voice dripping with contempt. "It's a shame, but you can't kill me." Achan's eyes glow with defiant energy. He knows that if that thing stabs him, it's over. The hooded figure leans in, revealing its terrifying secret. "I can read your mind, did you know that?" The world warps into a horrifying vision of red eyes, the enemy seeing Achan's every thought and move. His enemy blocks a desperate punch, sneering, "One attack, that's all you've got in you, right?" A-chan curses in pure frustration, his shadow tail lashing out as his enemy's words hit their mark. A-chan's mind races, deciding to leave the next move to his ally, the old man in the car. The hooded figure unleashes a devastating attack, a blur of white energy that rips through the street. The figure taunts A-chan, asking if he'll use that old man again, knowing guns are useless. With a mocking laugh, the figure dashes away, a blur of motion leaving A-chan behind. He declares himself a god, but then stops in confusion, unable to find his target. The space where A-chan should be is empty. He's vanished, leaving only a grenade behind. The figure's eyes widen in shock as he realizes the grenade is armed, a perfectly laid trap. The grenade detonates in a blinding flash, engulfing the arrogant figure in the powerful blast. A-chan hits the deck, his eyes wide as he braces against the force of his own grenade. From the smoke, A-chan emerges, his shadow hand gripping the injured figure's shoulder with crushing force. A-chan smirks, praising his ally's sharpness, but then a flicker of concern crosses his face. Wait, where's the old man? The memory reveals the ally, a blur of motion as he lunges, knife in hand, to strike the hooded Lie. The ally's blade clashes with Lee's defense in a furious, high-speed exchange of blows. Enraged, the hooded Lie unleashes his power, screaming, "Die!" as he lunges at the old man. But the attack leaves Lie wounded, and he freezes as a voice calls his name, his mind reeling in shock. A-chan emerges from the smoke with a confident smirk, taunting his foe. "Want to know your future?" The hooded Lie can only stare back in utter confusion, his mind unable to process the taunt. The old man ally opens fire, his bullet streaking through the air to pin Lie down. With his gun trained on the target, the ally's grim face earns a grudging compliment from the cornered Lie. Suddenly, Lie clutches his head, crying out as a strange, powerful energy overwhelms his senses. The vision forces Lie to see his own past, his contempt for the trash he once controlled. Those same words, useless losers, echo in Gyun's mind, the fuel for his lifelong rage. But A-chan twists the memory, his voice a venomous whisper in Lee's mind. "This is your future." The hooded Lie clutches his head, the horrifying vision of his own downfall too much to bear. He sees himself kneeling in defeat, his power broken, a humiliation he screams that he hates. With a furious roar, Lee shatters the mental prison, refusing to accept the future A-chan has shown him. A bizarre, heart-shaped energy blast erupts from Lee, a desperate and powerful counterattack. With a manic shriek, Lie unleashes his true power, a chaotic storm of green and white energy. The energy coalesces into a winged beast, diving towards the old man ally with overwhelming force. The old man is slammed to the ground, pinned by glowing energy, his face frozen in shock. Lie's mind reading fails him, his power flaring as he stammers in disbelief. "No way!" A-chan stands amidst the smoke, his dark hair flowing like a shadow, a figure of pure, unpredictable power. He looks down on his defeated foe, coldly declaring, "Who cares about the future?" A predatory grin spreads across A-chan's face as he taunts Lie. "Looks like this time you're the one who got fooled." But a new voice cries out in terror, "What the hell am I seeing?" As a horrifying red eye fills his vision. The vision takes form, a grotesque, fleshy monster summoned from a nightmare, trapping the helpless woman. The old man ally freezes, his face a mask of pure horror, completely ensnared by Lee's mental attack. As the hallucination rages, the civilian husband is struck down, caught in the crossfire of the psychic war. The man's mind screams in his final moments, realizing the attack was fatal as his world fades to black. A mad laugh echoes as A-chan appears to stand over the fallen man, but the old man's eyes snap open, shouting, "I see!" as he breaks the illusion. The old man's eyes widen in manic realization, his mind finally connecting the impossible dots as he shouts, "So this is what they meant!" He stares at A-chan's shadow form, recalling a chilling warning he once received. "Watch out for the baby." A-chan looks down at his ally, his glowing eyes narrowing as he questions the word, "Baby?" The memory of the hooded Lie sneers, his voice dripping with venom as he names A-chan, the Egg of Calamity. Gyun's infant consciousness echoes the confusion, the ominous title Egg of Calamity ringing in his mind. Lie screams with unhinged fury, vowing that the all-powerful organization will now hunt A-chan down to the ends of the earth. But a blinding beam of light from the old man's rifle pierces Lee's form, a swift and decisive counterattack. The battle stills for a moment as both Achan and the old man turn, their faces masks of shared shock. A memory surfaces, the old man's voice echoing a hard-learned lesson. You can kill the enemy sometimes. His hand steadies a high-tech rifle as the memory continues, his voice grim. But when you can't, you run, his voice echoes as a military truck smashes through the smoke-filled battlefield. A figure in a gas mask steps out, their combat boots hitting the ground with grim purpose. He holds a wicked blade, his voice muffled as he warns, "You'll become your enemy." The memory jolts Lee, while Gyun's mind screams in panic. The military's arrival is a disaster. A single word escapes Lai's lips, a name filled with a complex history. Teacher. The man removes his mask, a smug grin on his face. Snow Wolf Captain Lai On. In the memory, a grotesque monster lunges, but Lai On stands his ground, completely unfazed. The creature shrieks in a mindless rage, its attack meant to tear him to pieces. But a wave of dark, destructive energy erupts from Lai On, annihilating the monster instantly. Lai On's smirk is cold and absolute, the look of a man who wields terrifying, unquestionable power. From the shadows, Achan watches, his body trembling from the sheer force of Lai On's attack. He can only stare in disbelief, his mind reeling at the casual display of power. He didn't even move? The old man confronts Lai On, explaining with weary resolve that he must leave to find his grandchild. But Lai On addresses him as teacher, urging him to return to duty during the state of emergency. Lai On reveals his leverage, a photo of the man's granddaughter held safely under military protection. The old man falls silent, his face a mask of grim conflict, trapped by the cold, unspoken threat. Achan's mind races, the words return and command sparking a shocking, impossible realization. A vision fills his mind. The old man wasn't just a soldier, he was a top military commander. Lai On presses his advantage, offering to let the old man confirm his grandchild's safety. Defeated, the old man agrees, his shoulders slumping as he follows his manipulative former student. Hidden in the shadows, Achan's mind races, realizing he's trapped between two powerful military figures. But his power suddenly gives out, his adult form dissolving as he crashes to the ground, cursing his own weakness. The sound of the fall instantly alerts Lai On, his head snapping back with a curious, "Oh?" Gyun's eyes widen in pure panic. His reversion to a helpless infant has been heard. Lai On approaches with his rifle, a smirk on his face as he finds Gyun lying helpless on the dusty ground. His eyes narrow with suspicion, his voice a low threat. "I saw a monster here a moment ago. Was that you?" Gyun's mind screams in terror as the rifle barrel looms over him. This man might kill him on suspicion alone. But a firm hand stops the rifle, the old man's voice cutting in with a sharp, "Lai On, wait!" The old man meets his student's gaze, his voice steady as he claims, "I put him here on purpose." Lai On's skeptical reply hangs in the air, his eyes still fixed on the child as the old man shields him. The old man scoops up Gyun, praising the good child, while Lai On watches with a smug grin. But he whispers a stern warning to Gyun, telling him to keep playing dumb to the very end. Gyun resumes his wailing act as Lai On mockingly comments on how well they seem to get along. With a smile that doesn't reach his eyes, Lai On extends an invitation for them to come with him. Gyun's instincts scream that something is deeply wrong with Lai On's unsettling aura. He stares at Lai On's face, a flicker of familiarity sparking deep within his memory. A shocking realization hits him. He recognizes Lai On from his past life in the organization. Inside a military facility, Lai On orders a nurse to lay the still annoyed Gyun down in a cot. Lai On dismisses the nurse, his tone leaving no room for argument as he takes control of the situation. Gyun feigns sleep, his mind racing as he wonders where Lai On has taken the old man. Gyun's eyes scan the sterile room, his mind questioning. More importantly, where is this place? As Lai On leans over his cot, Gyun unleashes a piercing wail, resuming his helpless infant act. His fake tears stream down his face, his cries echoing through the quiet military nursery. A chilling smirk plays on Lai On's lips as he mockingly praises the child for being so full of energy. His gloved hand reaches down, his voice a soft but menacing command. "Don't wake everyone up, okay?" Lai On's eyes glow with a strange purple energy, his power forcing Gyun into a deep, unwilling slumber. Gyun's eyes flutter shut, his body going limp as the mysterious power takes hold. But even as he sleeps, his mind races, a horrifying memory of Lai On beginning to surface. He recalls Lion from his past life, a key figure in the organization, codenamed Tank, a user who manipulates blood. The memory is terrifying. Tank's power can make the blood in a person's body explode in a fatal attack. But Giyun's mind screams the truth. He isn't sleeping. He's unconscious from oxygen deprivation. Lion smirks to himself, realizing this child is the monster that tried to kill him, a dangerous variable. With a taunting pinch to the cheek, Lion tests the child, his purple eyes glinting with cold amusement. He muses over the child's power, wondering how a compatible one awakened so early in the apocalypse. A chilling smile spreads across Lion's face as he mentions a coming inspection. As Lion's power descends again, Giyun's mind screams in silent defiance, "Stop it!" But the power is too strong, and Giyun's body succumbs, falling into a deep, feigned sleep. Walking away, Lion chuckles with cruel anticipation, his voice a low promise. "This'll be fun." But the moment he's gone, Giyun's eye cracks open, his mind already working, analyzing his new prison. A memory surfaces, a locked file from his past life and a term he now understands. Calamity eggs. Giyun's mind connects the dots. Lion is part of the organization that destroyed the military. He realizes the old man doesn't trust Lion, which is why he's so desperate to find his grandchild. But Giyun's brow furrows with worry, his mind fixated on the ominous threat of an inspection. A memory flashes, a woman calling his past self Achan, and he wonders why she's appearing now. He shakes his head, focusing. He has no time for distractions and must devise an escape plan. Giyun takes stock of his powers, realizing the core fusion left him with only Dark Shadow and God Barrier. While God Barrier protects his mind, he knows using the powerful Dark Shadow here would be foolish. He resolves to stay hidden, vowing not to use his power recklessly until he knows their true intentions. With a grimace, Giyun accepts his role. For now, he must be nothing more than a helpless baby. But his eyes widen in confusion as a lock of familiar red hair pokes out from a nearby cot. Giyun's eyes lock onto the red-haired child, whose legs have become living vines, another compatible one. He reels in shock, his mind screaming in disbelief. "There's another compatible one besides me?" His gaze sweeps across the nursery, a dawning, impossible horror filling his eyes as he whispers, "No way." One cot after another reveals a child crackling with latent power. Giyun realizes they're all compatible. He remembers how the organization hunted and isolated them, confused as to why they're all gathered here now. Suddenly, a living vine shoots out from the red-haired child's cot, grabbing Giyun and yanking him into the air. He struggles against the powerful grip, cursing his own weakness as he's unable to break free. Giyun's mind races. Using his power here would mean revealing his secret to the dangerous Lion. But before he can act, a hooded figure steps from the shadows, grabbing the vine with a hand crackling with dark energy. The vine withers into dust, and Giyun drops to the floor, staring up at his unexpected savior. Rubbing his head from the fall, Giyun looks up as his savior coldly says he should have stayed asleep. The hood falls back, revealing a stern-faced girl who warns him to behave, calling him a newbie.